crafters, it's Cynthia. I am back again with another video, and for this one I wanted to do something just a little bit different, and I'm showing you this big die cuts with a view 12 by 12 paper stack, and it's called LeBlanc and it's just white on white, or this kind of a soft craft on white, and it also has a pearlized finish. So each one of the pages, each one of the white on white pages, I should say, has this really nice pearlized pattern. So it's partially plain white cardstock, and then it's partially patterned with the pearl. And then it comes in a lot of different fabulous patterns. You get florals and geometric shapes. And this beautiful one here. So just, and then these sheets are just plain cardstock, but there you get that craft in white. So I was looking through this at the store, and not only was it lovely, but then I started thinking about different ways that I might be able to use this paper, because some people might look at that and think that, sure, it's nice, but it's kind of boring. Well, wait till you see what I do. This piece I just cut out of it because I wanted to have some practice paper. So let me take this, and then I'm going to go ahead and lay out my craft mat because I want to do some inking. And I really need to come up with a new way to hold my camera. It's a little bit close in to my surface, and I feel limited on space. Hopefully this is okay. I'm gonna find a couple different ink dauber tools. I really need also to get some more of these little round ink blending foams, but every time I'm ready to buy them, no matter where I go, they're out of stock. So I'm getting a little tired of never having access to them. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try some different inks. I have some My Favorite Things ink, which is one of my favorite companies, and their colors are absolutely gorgeous, and their dye inks are really wonderful. This one's a little messy, so sorry about that. Let's see. So I'm just going to put on an ink dauber, pick up some of this pretty color, and start over here, hopefully in a spot where you can see me. Again, I apologize for how awkward this is. There. Okay. So I'm just going to start blending on the color. And what's really neat is that wherever the pearlized finish is on this paper, it's going to resist the ink, and wherever the plain cardstock is, that's the portion that's going to be colored. So you can see what an absolutely lovely effect I'm getting, and all I'm doing is putting just a little bit of ink down. So once I made this discovery, I was just thrilled, because I have that whole huge paper pad of all different patterns. So see, now I could just leave it like this, and I would just have this beautiful little fade, which I think is lovely. So I think I'm just going to kind of take this up a little higher. Because I can use this. Maybe it'll be better. Hold on a sec. I'm going to go ahead while I'm thinking about this. I'm going to cut out a piece that I can later turn into a card front. Wait a minute. So let me just go ahead and cut this down right now. I could just do a pretty little fade wherever I want it and take it in as far as I want it to go. And of course you can do different colors together. Maybe I will do that just to see what happens. Or, I know. Oh yeah, this is going to be lovely. One of the reasons that I was super excited to discover that this worked so well was because I really do have an awful lot of ink pads, and even though I love ink and I'm glad I have all the colors I do, sometimes I feel like, you know, what the heck am I going to do with all this ink, you know? And so when I discovered this technique, I was excited because I thought, oh good, I'll be able to use my vast collection of inks in a new way. So there's nothing worse than letting craft products go to waste. So, and there we go. Gosh, isn't that neat? So I just kind of focused on the edges and then let it fade as it came into the center. And of course you can do anything that you want, but I'm just trying to show you a little bit of what I've discovered. So I'm gonna clean up my mat just briefly. And then since different inks behave differently, I wanted to pull out one of my Simon Says Stamp ink pads because I have a fair amount of the Simon ink as well. And I know that this ink is formulated maybe just a little bit different. It's very highly pigmented and it stays wet for a little bit, and it just has slightly different properties. So I'm just using the Audrey Blue, and I'm going to rub this on, and we'll see how this one differs, if at all. So far it seems to be going on just the same way, which is great. I got a little of my coral on here, so please excuse me, but these are just mostly going to be practice panels. And this sponge dauber is also getting just a little rough. See, very, very cute. And I think this time around, let me grab another pad real quick. Right, here's some Hero Arts shadow ink, and this is Passion Flower, which is a gorgeous purple. So I'm going to go ahead, ooh, excuse me, and add a little of this in the corner here. Alright, I'm just going to darken it up a bit where the two meet. There we go. Wow. I think that looks really, really pretty. So I would say experiment number 2 was a success. And again, I used some Simon Says and some Hero Arts inks. Again, dye inks. Oops, excuse me for moving my camera. Now, for my next little trick, my next little sample, I'm going to try some Distress Oxide, so this will be interesting. Let me go ahead and just cut a little strip of this. Now, as you know, the Distress Oxide is a unique ink because it's a combination of pigment and dye. So the pigment aspect makes it more of a paint, which is going to stay on your surface, and the dye aspect is what's going to go right into your paper and dry instantly. And the color is beautiful. Now you're going to see some of this speckling here, and that's just from the manufacturing process of the paper. So that little bit of speckling in the pearlized finish is just a part of the paper. It's not happening because of the ink I'm using or anything. And of course, if you just used this paper as is without coloring it, you wouldn't even notice those little flaws. So anyway, well, that's really pretty. So I've noticed, of course, that the dye part of the ink is going right into the paper, which is just what I would have expected. And the pigment part of the ink actually, the pearlized finish of the paper is resisting that. So now what I'm doing here is I'm just taking this, which is barely damp, and I'm just rubbing it across the top of the paper. And it's just going to help pick up some extra, since this is that special oxide ink. It's going to help clean the surface. I could also do that with these, because again, that pearlized finish is resisting the ink, and so some of it might be sitting on top, but I think that's pretty good. So anyway, there are my 3 little sample pieces with different types of inks. All right, I decided to try just a few other little ideas before I give up completely. So anyway, I decided to cut down a little strip of this beautiful paper because this is one of my favorites. So I'm going to switch to that, and the first thing I'm going to try is just going direct to paper. So I think I'm just going to grab, this is My Favorite Things craft ink, and of course it's the dye ink. So I'm just going to go right to the paper. Oh my goodness. Wow. Hello. It's a beautiful juicy ink pad, and it has that nice spongy pad to it. Instead of a fabric type pad, it's a spongy pad. Anyway, so now I'm going to wipe away. Oh, see? That dye ink was just sitting on top of the pearlized portion. So look how much I'm getting off. So I'm just wiping away that surface ink, and I'm left with that beautiful pearlized design and a gorgeous craft background. And of course, once this is fully dry, it'll get a little bit lighter and be a true craft brown. Now obviously this really saturates your paper quite a bit. I can feel how damp it is. So you're going to want to set this aside to dry completely. But that worked out beautiful. So that's another way to do it, is just direct to paper and forget about ink daubers and stuff. So let's see, my other thought was using a water-based marker. So I happen to have the Tombow dual brush water-based markers here. So these have that nice little bullet tip, and then I also have a real pretty little brush tip. So this color is just number 243. I grabbed it because it was kind of a lighter color, and I'm gonna just take my paper here, and using the brush, I'm just going to, I'm not even going to be careful, I'm just going to lay that down at a nice horizontal angle and just start coloring across. And the reason I want to use a water-based marker is because as soon as it hits that paper, it's going to dry, and it's going to resist the pearlized portion. If I used an alcohol marker, it would color the whole thing, but I don't know if it would melt that pearlized stuff, because I know that you can't rub your alcohol markers across an embossed surface, like if you use your heat embossing, because it'll melt that plastic, and then it could transfer the plastic to the nib of your pen and ruin it. I mean, ruin the nib, which you'd have to replace. So I don't recommend doing this with alcohol markers. But look how beautiful that is. And I have the set of 96 pens, so officially I can do this paper in 96 colors if I wanted to. So that's super exciting. And again, this pretty well saturated the card or the paper, so again, I'm going to want to set this aside to dry completely. And so the final little experiment I wanted to try while I'm playing around is I've got this beautiful Nouveau Embellishment mousse, and this product is really, really nice. You can do quite a few things with it. You can work it through stencils, you can water it down and create paint, because it's an acrylic based product, and so you can actually kind of make your own thin bodied acrylic paint out of it. But for this technique, and since it is a water-based product, again, I'm thinking maybe this will work beautifully on this paper. So this is the Indian Gold color. It's the only color I currently have. So I'm just gonna rub my dauber in it, and it has a beautiful creamy consistency. So now I'm gonna start putting it down. Oh yeah, I think this is gonna be beautiful. Because this embellishment mousse comes in, I believe, 24 different colors. My mom, bless her heart, has ordered, she has the first 12, or I should say she has the set of lighter 12 colors, and then she ordered the darker colors, but they haven't arrived yet. So she's gonna let me play around when they come in. And again, the paper itself might have some flaws, so. I love this gold though. It's just such a rich, beautiful gold. All right. I'm going to close that up. And again, I'm going to take an just very, very slightly damp cloth. I don't want it to be really saturated with water, and I'm just going to rub across so that it cleans off. See how much gold I'm getting there? All right. So pretty. And now look at what I'm left behind. Just that beautiful. Now it's a combination of metallic gold and that gorgeous white pearl. So you talk about a showstopper. This piece is beautiful. I'm definitely going to use something, use this in something. And what's neat is that now that I have this little piece, obviously I could make this piece any size that I want, but then I can actually die cut it out as well. So I could take like a butterfly die and just pop out a little butterfly or two and use those as little embellishments on a really pretty clean and simple card, or you know, just a million different options. So once you create all these little papers for yourself, you can do with them anything that you want. So here is my little collection of experiments, and pretty much I would say they're all successful. So this is just the most fun, and you're only limited by your imagination or the colors that you have on hand. So if you've got a lot of colors like I do and you're looking for new ways to play with them, try to find cardstock like this or pattern paper like this in your craft store. Or you can just go ahead and order that pad that I showed you, the Die Cuts with a View LeBlanc stack, because you might find it online. I purchased it in person at my local Joann's craft store. So if you have a Joann's near you, you can look for it there. You can go to joanns.com, or you can just do a Google search for the Die Cuts with a View paper packs and see what you can find. So anyway, I hope that you give something like this a try. It's a lot of fun, and I hope that you are having fun crafting wherever you are. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you all again very, very soon. Bye-bye.